What's up, Huckers? Big Country here, and I'm back with another disc review. This time it's the Reptilian Disc Golf Raptor, their brand new disc and their first ever driver. Like every other Reptilian Disc Golf mold except for the Serpent, this bad boy's overstable. It's a control driver. The rim feels about the same as a PD, which I bag and love. Very cool little stamp on here. It's Tyrannosaurus. He's got some innards in his mouth, and the innards are forming the shape of RDG coming out one end. It's pretty gross, right? These are molded up by Daredevil, and this is in Reptilian Disc Golf's ArmorFlex plastic. As you can see, it's pretty flexible. It feels really similar to G-Star from Innova, or like a more flexible FLX from Discraft, but it's also sort of gritty, so it's got a really good grip on it. It's very interesting plastic, very hard to describe. Now, all of these proto runs were actually white, and what RDG did before they stamped them is they hand dyed a certain amount of them pink and a certain amount of them blue. So that gives it a little swirly sort of thing going on before the stamp. One thing to note though, I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but on the white, it definitely left a pink mark, and this is just from being shipped to me. So just be aware if you pick these up and you put them in a bag with other discs, that might be an issue. So we're gonna test them out. We're gonna see how they fly by themselves. Then we're gonna test them out against a C-Line PD and a G-Star Banshee and see how they fly. These are gonna be my first throws with the Raptor. Can't wait to see how it goes. Well, that was interesting. These are definitely more overstable than I expected. They kind of hooked up right out of the hand, but they still had pretty good distance. Pretty dissimilar to the Banshee and the PD, which I chose to test these out against. So that'll be interesting when we go head to head. This time, I'm going to throw them with a slight bit of hyzer, try and get a little flex. And then on the way back, I'm going to throw them on a thumber. And we'll see how that works out. More interesting results for the Raptor. On those anti-flex shots, I was finding it hard to get them up in the air. They didn't really hold that anti for too long, but they did go a lot straighter when I put that angle on them. I threw them a little too low to really get much fade. One interesting thing to note is this grass is pretty well cut down, and these things aren't skipping at all. I think it's because of this gummy plastic. On the overhand shots, I foot faulted and screwed up my first one. But the second one, you saw that thumber just flipped over and cruised. It hit the fence. That was about a 300-foot thumber, which is really good for me and made my shoulder hurt like nobody's business. So now what we're going to do is we're going to throw some sidearms down. Then we're going to try some big sweeping hyzers on the way back. Then we'll test them up against the Banshee and the PD. That was lovely. Well, the sidearms are ugly, but I throw an ugly sidearm. Those sweeping hyzers, that's amazing. That's very reliable. I was throwing them from about 325, 350 out. I almost hit my wife, the camera woman, on the first one. Sailed over her head and past the fence on the second one. So sweeping hyzers are definitely the go-to for the Raptor. So now we're going to throw this pink one against this blue G-Star Banshee. We're going to throw them flat, and on the way back, we're going to do that sweeping hyzer. The fence down there is about 425. So I'm going to try and throw on the way back close to that fence, see how far we can really get these sweeping hyzers. One other thing to note, if you like a pretty looking disc, these aren't going to be the ones for you. Literally the only throws I've had with these Raptors have been these ones here on camera, and they're already covered in grass stains and markings. There's no real dents or chips or anything like that because we're just throwing in soft grass, but they are not as pretty as they were when I first started throwing them, even after these couple throws. All right, Raptor, Banshee, let's do it. That was interesting. Thrown flat, the Banshee hooked up just a little bit harder, but it also went about 20 feet farther than the Raptor. The Raptor kind of hooked onto that hyzer line right out of the hand and just kept on going. Whereas the Banshee stayed flat for a little bit before it started its fade. However, on that big high hyzer, the Raptor locked into the line and just glided out. I didn't think that thing was ever going to come down. The Banshee was, I don't know, 80, maybe 100 feet shorter. Didn't even hold a candle to the Raptor. So far the Raptor is amazing at long, high hyzers. Everything else is sort of a utility disc, and with this gummy plastic, you might not want it as a utility disc because it's not going to skip, and it's kind of hard to grip for sidearms. So what we're going to do now is we're going to throw it up against this nice Domey C-Line PD. Some of the more overstable PDs are these Domey C-Line PDs. We're going to throw it down using a sidearm. I'm going to try and give you a decent sidearm, and on the way back we're going to do another big high hyzer shot, see if I can clear the fence with the PD and come close to the Raptor. Well, that was pretty obvious what happened there. The PD, way longer. It's got better glide, it's less stable all around. Thing just outdistanced the Raptor. The Raptor's definitely more overstable. That wasn't even a good comparison. The better comparison was the Banshee and the Raptor. The Raptor flies very similar to the Banshee, the Innova Banshee. I bag a champion Banshee. I could see me replacing the Banshee with the Raptor during the winter months. You know, this plastic, like I said, it's very flexible, very grippy, perfect for winter. I really like these bright dyes that they do. It makes it very easy to see, very easy to find if you shank it off into the rough. But with the Raptor, you're not going to shank it off into the rough. Very overstable, very reliable, very pinpoint. If it does one thing well, it's those big, high, sweeping hyzers. I felt almost like a decent disc golfer when I was throwing those. I was pinpointing them, they were going right where I wanted, they're getting good distance, they looked pretty in the air. They're great. For sidearm, I throw a one-finger grip, but even a two-finger grip, just the rim and sort of the flexible floppiness of it, I don't really care for it. There's also a massive amount of tooling on the bottom. It says DaredevilDisc.com, then it's got a logo, then it says Canada, then a maple leaf, then driver, then another logo, plus the Proto RDG stamp. You do feel it a little bit when you're gripping it in a sidearm. It's not raised or anything, but that's something to note. I love the stamp, it's very cool, very graphic. You know, RDG always kills it with the stamps. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say about the Raptor. It's a good, reliable, overstable, fairway control type driver. It is not yet PDJ approved, but the team at Reptilian Disc Golf told me they'll be sending it off sometime this week or next week to get PDJ approved. So when it does, I could see myself adding this maybe for the winter months, like I said. But for right now, I'm going to stick with the Champion Banshee, just because it's what I know and it's what I've been throwing for years. But if you're looking for that nice, overstable, sort of fairway control driver disc, and you like the way it flew, you can go on over to reptiliandiscgolf.com. They still have a few left. So until next time, go out and huck some discs. It's got a very cool stamp on it, very disgusting stamp. This Tyrannosaurus has got some innards in his mouth, and they're spooging out to say RDG on him. These discs